All right, guys. Well, we had the conversation with Alex from first round, and now we're doing our first of 5x5. So again, the goal here is we know that the best part of conferences is meeting interesting people. And when we shifted to virtual, we didn't want to lose that. So we're going to, throughout the next 6 days, have 5 different conversations, each asking 5 questions, roughly 10 minutes each. And so we're starting with Melissa Murphy. Melissa teaches the Corporate Startup Lab course with me and teaches a lot of other courses at Tepper as well. But Melissa, you spent a lot of your early career in the CPG space, and you worked at Del Monte, at StarKist, right? How is innovation similar and different in the CPG space versus maybe some of the other industries that folks are familiar with at the forum?
Well, I think let's start with the similarities first. I think the similarities really speak to that. Let's start with the customer. Let's know our audience. Let's assess and see, is there an unmet need or a problem we can solve? So I think the foundational pieces are the same. I think we use some of the same tools. Actually, I think some of those are borrowed from the CPG side of innovation with passion maps and personas and tools like that. So where the foundation is the same and some of the tools are the same, but where I think it's a little bit different from some of the other categories is when it comes to speed. I think the CPG as a whole has made steps forward when it comes to speed, and that's speed in iterating on your ideas. It's speed on getting feedback and testing. It's speed on bringing your product to market. I think it's doing better, but I think there's some natural limitations to it that make it a little bit more challenging than, say, a tech product. Where I think CPG has made strides and has helped it, though, is you're seeing a lot more D2C offerings, direct-to-consumer offerings. And I think those are allowing for more iteration, more change, and more speed to speak to those needs.
Yeah, so like D2C would be like Warby Parker, Casper mattresses, things like that. Yeah. So you teach a bunch of classes beyond the CSL class, which I'm sure is your favorite. But what made you want to start teaching at Carnegie Mellon?
It's funny. I've had people ask this question before, and throughout my entire career, whether I was in the corporate world or the agency side or having my own consulting company, I've always loved mentoring people. So even early in my career, I was a guest lecturer in numerous courses. I did training in the companies that I worked for. And I've just always been really comfortable about interacting with people and trying to bring out the best version they can be. So I love teaching from a expertise standpoint and sharing that knowledge. But I think where I have a lot of passion and I think can make a difference between a good and a great teacher comes in terms of recognizing people's strengths and weaknesses and the differences and helping them to sort of find their path in that process. And that's probably the most rewarding work I've done outside of 1 or 2 key product launches.
That's awesome. And I can say, having taught with you, you do that incredibly well. So let's talk about these new product launches. So probably one of the most popular courses at CMU is your new product management course. And so what do you think is misunderstood about new product management, specifically new? Yeah,
we've talked about this, but I think the challenge with it is new product management. There's a lot that can come from that. So essentially, it could be 3 or 4 different courses, actually, because there's the new product development side of it. There's the product management side of it. And what I find is I have a lot of students that want to be a product manager in a specific category, which is great that they know that. But the course is set up more to be a general overview on innovation and management. And it sometimes can be a little more general. So I really try in the beginning to level set and say, here's what the class is and what the class isn't. So if you're an entrepreneur and you really want to focus just on lean, okay, then you know what, Sean, they're better in your course. Mine's great for someone who wants to have the introduction to it and wants to learn about the different models. But it also could be broken down into 3 different courses related to how to do new products, how to do product management, but also how to do brand management and the marketing side of that equation.
Yeah, that's exactly that's exactly right.
And people bring a lot of expectations to it. They love the idea of the class. They know it's a hot topic and they want to learn from it. but they all bring different expectations. So it's really important to sort of level set of what the purpose of this introductory course is and what we do and what we don't do in it.
Yeah, perfect. So for the last two, I want to talk about COVID and its impact, right? So how do you think CPG is going to change because of COVID?
I think it is going back to the first question that you asked me. I think it really links to understanding your customer, and whether that's, your end user or a consumer or it's B2B, their world has changed dramatically, and the way they interact with your product has likely changed a lot as well. So I think it's important that the companies, CPG and others, to determine and say, wait, the world has changed. Our consumer has changed the way they're doing things. And not only do we need to catch up to it, we need to be ahead of it, because the worst thing that can happen is be in this reactive mode, which we've been living through for months now. I think there needs to be acceptance of it's here, it's changed things, and let's keep moving. Let's move in the right direction. And that's going to allow for adapting and changing as quickly as the world changed on us. And, I think that'll be a challenge for CPG, but I also think it'll be a challenge across the board for people.
Yeah.
COVID has really, from my world, from a consumer perspective, COVID has really changed our behaviors. First and foremost, it changes how we shop. It changes how we interact. It changes where, when, and how we buy things. So it has a huge impact on how we engage with the audience. So I think the important thing is to listen and learn and then adapt from that, which I believe CPG is capable of doing, because it's rooted in, consumer knowledge and listening and really knowing our audiences. So I think they can do it, but I think it's a different business model. And I think it's looking at a lot more e-commerce.
Yeah.
Faster than they may have been ready. I think it accelerated things, not really changed them, but I think it accelerated the pace a great deal.
Yeah, I agree. Wearing your other hat, the other thing that was changed quite a bit was education. So you were teaching a few courses when we had to, go remote in about a week. But how do you think higher ed changes long-term because of this pandemic?
You know what? I think higher ed, similar to some other categories, has to, one, accept the fact the world's different. And I think really in higher ed, it is very dramatically different in how we engage and also what people expect now and what that value proposition looks like. So I think, as I said, for CPG, I think it's equally important on the higher ed side to listen to our audiences, learn from them, but adapt quickly, because the problem is I personally feel like we're still playing catch up a little bit, and we've got to be ahead of this, not playing catch up to it, and be able to adapt faster and quicker and accept the fact that it's changing. It's definitely different and it's changing. So we all need to do things a little bit differently. And that's what our customer, consumer, end user wants, is they want a different experience. And they've, frankly, I think, adapted pretty well under the circumstances. And it's our job to stay ahead of that and do better.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's interesting to me, like the difference between my third and fourth graders, which the moment it's safe for them to be back at school, they will be back in a schoolroom, versus higher ed. I think there's a lot that's here to stay. Well, so this is, guys, I would really encourage you, if you don't know Melissa, to get to know her. Again, we're trying to give you guys a chance to meet interesting people in these quick 5x5s. This was the first one of them. But Melissa, thanks for kicking us off. And
thanks. If there's any students, please feel free to join my new product management class in Mini 3. Looking forward to it.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Melissa. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.